the horse.
Yep.
We need to keep moving. And welcome everybody to Council Checkup. We've just been having a nice little pre-discussion here, and I'd like to welcome once again after our summertime hiatus, our Mayor Blake McCutcheon. Welcome back, Blake.
Good to be back.
Excellent. And a returning person who we've had here more than once. Although I've had lots of feedback about, do you really need to bring this guy back again?
Once too often, maybe.
But, our fire chief, Guillas, welcome back.
Thanks, Don.
So, a lot of waters passed under the bridge during this time. I had a couple of council meetings. We had a flood.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I think there's a lot of stuff to sort of bring back up, but let's start probably with the hottest topic of what happened this summer was the flood. So, from both your perspectives, how do you feel it went? It was a flood, but in terms of our response, in terms of the damage done, what would you?
Well, you know what? It'd actually be good to Yves to start that one off because Yves was right there from the very get-go. I mean, he was there from the night before and the day before that, and I didn't really come in until after the July 1st. So, yeah, Yves, you should maybe just talk about how that all unfolded.
Do we have an emergency plan set up for that kind of thing?
No, we had emergency plans put in place for rain and flooding to a certain degree, not a lake breaking and flooding our town. Sorry to say, we never had that.
Yeah. Well, darn.
Yeah, I know we should have, and now we probably will. No, it was the rain that got us.
Yeah.
Was the first of it, and I said the night before we did work all night, a bunch of us, and pumped out all the low-lying areas, and we had it all cleaned up, and we thought we were sitting good. Until I think we went home at 5:30 in the morning, and at 6 o'clock we got the call that water was coming in at the first house, which was Kyle Ford's house, down by the water treatment plant. So I said I couldn't be because I just left there. I just checked it half an hour ago. Well, he said there's water coming through, so we went down there, still not knowing what happened, where it came from.
Okay.
We had no idea that the lake had let go. At that point, we just had a pile of water coming through. Well, once we found out that it was a lake, we had a mess on our hands. But it took no time, Don. It was I bet you 5 minutes, we were standing in 4 feet of water.
Wow, that quick.
Yeah, it was there. It was up to my waist on the street. When I was standing on the street, it was up to my waist on the street.
Really?
Yep.
Well, and pretty powerful currents, I would
think. Yeah, that was our biggest concern, was people, smaller people or somebody getting pulled under, not knowing, or tripping. You think you know where the curbs are, you start walking and you don't know where stuff is. Especially, and it's dirty, right? You can't see. So, it was quite a thing for everybody.
Well, when you take a look at the aftermath, it was a huge section of lake that went out.
Yeah. Somebody telling you there's 2 feet of water in Park Lake. Well, there's a lot more than 2 feet of water in Park Lake.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But you see, one of my guys called me, we never realized that retention pond there on that Stony Creek, is what that one is, coming down, if I get them right, because I'm getting them all mixed up in my head. But there's 890 feet of elevation on that creek coming down from the top. They said from the watersheds, it is. And they said there was 10 beaver dams, some of them were 10 feet deep. That was the only restraint we had on that except for Park Lake. Well, when they called us from up in the mountain there, one of my buddies called me and said, we got 7 inches one day, they got 6.5 the next. That's a lot of water. And that all had to come right down to us. So, on top of all that and everything else happening, we never saw that coming.
No.
We didn't know where to measure it from or how to figure where it was too high or too low. I didn't know that there was 2 creeks coming into Park Lake and there's 2 going into Lake Irwin.
Correct.
We didn't know that.
Same creeks or different creeks?
Different creeks. There's 4 different creeks.
Holy cow.
Brookdale Creek and Boggy Creek go into Lake Irwin, and Stony Creek and Casper Creek come into Park Lake.
Yeah.
Casper Creek, of course, is a lot slower than Stony Creek, which is the fast-running one, right?
But still, when water comes, water finds the path of least resistance. And so both those creeks will be pulling in water because it's just easier for them to go.
But as a major concern right now to the town, I don't think I'm speaking out of place, but if we had anything ever happen up there where there's a pile of water comes down again, we have nothing to slow that water down. It's going right through. You can see the creek bed where it goes through Park Lake. Now it's going to come straight through, right into our town and right on again. I mean, we've got a dike built up and we're
Yeah.
protected now, but that water's still coming here. Like, there's no retention ponds on that flow of water
And
at all.
my understanding, like, now that it's done and people have looked at it, that wall was partly refuse that farmers had dumped, bottles, cans, all
Yeah.
sorts of things over the years.
Oh, and who knew?
yeah,
Don?
well, no, how long, what, like 1800s?
1890.
Yeah.
Yeah, 130
So
years.
You're right. Who knew? We live here with that complacency. With Park Lake, lovely. We miss the birds this time of year.
I know,
all over.
I know.
Oh, for sure.
So
Yeah.
that was what our memories, and then you may get it to the actual Rotary Park there. That kind of thing is wonderful.
But you go look at the
Something.
damage it did, though.
Oh.
When you look at the banks washed out
Yeah.
and stuff like that, you think, holy man, there's lots washed out here. Like the water flowway there, the old dam that was there, it's gone. Like
Yeah.
there was only like about 4 feet of cement left, and all the rocks have overturned. You think somebody dumped a bunch of rock in there?
Yeah.
If you've been down there to look, there's piles of damage done.
I
The
know.
bridge being out, just banks washed away and stuff that's unsafe now.
So we
People
have
have no idea.
We have a town that's growing very
Absolutely.
large.
We
We've
do.
been talked countless, many of our sessions about how we're moving ahead and looking at planning for further increase in population. So given that, and it was on a long weekend.
Yes.
Yep.
How did you feel the town responded?
Oh, great. And again, I think
Wow.
Yves could speak to that because, I mean, he was right in there, right? But because it was a long weekend, that means, I mean, High Life wasn't running, which, I mean, freed
Yep.
up a ton of...
Well,
of,
and it
yeah.
was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Like we expected 50 people to show up.
Yeah.
How many people showed up?
And you got 50 more, you got more than 50 trucks showing up.
50. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
There was people everywhere. We had no place to send them. We didn't expect near that many people to show up. Sandbagged everywhere. Did a great job. Couldn't ask for a better group of people. Just asked and did. You didn't have to argue, fight, nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, it was excellent. They did a great job.
Well, I know
all
this-
around town should be proud of themselves.
And that's good to hear. We should be proud of ourselves, I think, as a community, in terms of everybody, small, tall, old, young, pulled together. I know that in the command center, the center set up at Yellowhead, I took a bit of time there, and I was just amazed at the people coming in, the food. People just say, and they'd say, can you get this out to the firefighters? Can you get this out to the group doing sandbagging? And so we called somebody to come right in, send it all. And it was just amazing, the whole town.
Yeah,
came
no,
together.
it was a tremendous response. It,
Well, it was, and people saying like,
Yeah.
people were doing their job, I didn't see them or nothing. I don't think there was anybody from the town that never showed up there. Like all the council people, all the people working at the office were all on site at some time or another through the time of it. It took us 2 weeks to get back on our feet and organized again.
yeah.
And it was amazing. Like from them working to other people, everybody, it was just,
Well, and
it
some
was
of the
great.
local businesses too.
Oh, everybody.
When I
yeah.
when I
Great
when I
job.
heard that some of the basic smaller businesses in construction and plumbing and whatever set up accounts at
Yes.
Home Hardware.
Yep.
Yep.
If people suddenly need to just go in and get it,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
and
If
it
you
was
need it.
wonderful. That kind of just, hey, we're all in this together. We
Oh,
all pitch in.
people helping out everybody. It was great. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, people helped other people clean out their houses and stuff
Yeah.
in the floodplains and stuff. And just, machinery. People brought machinery in that had no, what are you doing here? Well, I thought I'd come and help. Really? It was excellent. It was really good. And they should be proud of themselves.
Yeah,
Like I said.
I agree with that. I always thought Colleen, our CEO, she used the word glorious. I thought that was a good word, right?
Yeah,
It
it's a
was-
nice word.
Yeah,
You
it
don't
was.
hear
It
that
was.
much
Yeah,
anymore,
she
but
said
that-
it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
glorious to
Yeah,
see that.
yeah, it was. It really was. For
I
such a.
don't know how you sort of thank, other than saying things like this in public, how do you thank all those people?
Well, and how do you don't want to miss anybody. Because
Yeah.
from the littlest guy to the biggest guy, we needed every one of
Everybody
you,
played.
and you all did a great job. From
Well,
the sandbagging to the whatever.
Can
to
you
whatever.
imagine if you had a quarter of those people, what it would have been like to try
Well, that's
and deal
what we
with
had
that?
at the meeting the next day when we were talking about it, Don. We sat around and said, well, okay, so what can we do better here and everything else? I said, we had too many people here, too many people that wasn't organized. I said, who would have expected
Yeah.
thousands of people to show up?
Yeah.
But
That's
I
right.
said, let me tell you, this is like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Now, what would we do today if it happened this morning, same morning, but 2 weeks later, our life would already be working. None of those people would be coming. Everybody else would go to their jobs.
Yeah.
So we'd end up with 50 people
Yeah.
and out
Trying
of
to
control.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
out of control. When I think back, what could 50 people have done?
Nothing. Not
Really, it would have been much more of a disaster than it was.
From police stopping people from going on the highway, people thought they could drive through a raging. Like we walked the day before. I don't know if anybody you even knew this, maybe, but I mean, Spring Hill had a problem, and their overland flooding came just before the bridge outside of Neepawa here. So Colleen and I were going out to check this overland flooding because the RCMP said that you couldn't get to the colony. They were landlocked, like they were done. They were all up in the highest building waiting for the water to go down. So we went out there for a drive, and of course I went over the bridge, and I was doing like 50 miles an hour. I didn't even realize until we hit the water. And it was up to my knees on the highway already, coming across the, and it was like, it was a long ways. Like, wow, we hardly stayed on the road. I said to Colleen, what the heck?
Yeah.
But there was trees coming across, there was all kinds of stuff, there was vehicles coming, so we got to the far end, turned the truck around, turned the lights on, everything else, so we could stop everybody, and walked out there, good luck. Like, it was hard to stand up with that much water flowing and pushing on you.
This is the thing, you don't visually see the strength of the current just by looking at it.
No idea.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And you know how it washed out the sides already?
Yeah.
Like the shoulders were gone already. It was just pavement. Like, it's amazing how quick it happens. Like, it's
well,
wow.
and that we still have a structure.
Yeah.
You know, with some integrity to it. I mean, it forces you to relook at everything. We start thinking, so what if it's not just a flood anymore, but what if something else happens? What if, you know, it was an amazing event, and
wow.
I don't think you can say enough about the cooperation and the engagement the community did.
No, I
Can
agree
you
with that.
imagine if our sewer system would have gone down?
Yes.
Like, if one of our lift stations would have stopped.
We were very lucky.
And the town, great as the workers they were, they kept them things up and running all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of them gave us issues. We had to pump them and do all kinds of stuff to keep them running. But amazing. Amazing that people would have had a lot more problems than they did.
Yeah, I mean, the one at our end of town there, Walker and Ada, and then the one over on Mill Street, right? And I mean, yeah, and exactly, right? There was more than just luck involved. I mean, you're right, the town did a spectacular job of, I mean, they were hauling in tons of dirt, and I know.
Yep.
Well, this is all back. When you talk about the lift stations, not a lot of people realize.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, when you think of it, how important they are, one.
Yeah.
But two, that during that time, there were issues, and there were people out dealing with the issues.
Yeah, and they're all interconnected. You know, maybe I didn't even understand it that well, right? Once you lose one lift station, it's just not that part of the town that's in trouble. The whole town gets into trouble.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, no, they did a spectacular
No, it's not like, and then
job.
you see, and then everybody's worried about what you're putting into the water system.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's going down the river, right? You can't do that. I mean, we even had overland flooding when it was coming into Monroe's at the north end. It came in right on the north end of town. We had lots of water coming across there. It was almost in their building.
Like, I don't think a lot of people know that, Yves. That
Really?
Because
Oh, yeah.
it
Don't
got
know
on
about that end of town at all?
because it got onto Elizabeth Street a little bit, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We went down Elizabeth all the way to the end and down Railway Street
Yeah. A lot of people don't
in the
know
middle
that.
of the night.
Yeah.
And we were quite concerned because of the fact that most of those houses are fairly flat, right? But if
Yep.
the water's
Yes.
coming in your yard, it's going down to a hole. It's going in your basement.
Yeah.
You know, so like I said,
Yeah.
people didn't realize that. A lot of them didn't realize that. Like, we weren't just driving around. We were busy all the time protecting this town and being careful, being very careful, because I mean, this affects that, right?
So going forward, all right, so what have you learned? What do we need to do as a town to be better prepared? And what do we need to do to shore up what we've got already?
Well, I think from Yves' point of view, I think what they've learned now is, I mean, we did, I mean, Yves can speak to it too, but I think what we learned right away was, as Yves said, we got kind of, because it was July the 1st, and because there were so many people available, it did get a little confusing, right?
Right.
So, but even in normal times now, I think we have a better understanding of, like we're talking about vests, and we're talking about tags, and we're talking about putting things on people's vehicles, right? So we have a much better clarity of who the people are that we're dealing with, right?
Yep.
And then we'll have much better direction about how to handle these things, right?
Oh, better contact and everything else. Like
Yeah.
I said, you know, we were from RCMP to us to trying to communicate between us, you know, because their radios aren't compatible with our radios and all this kind of thing, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
And you know, all this kind of thing, like, you never think about it until it happens. But we always have one of them sitting here. There's always two of us side by each. He's got a radio, I got a radio. Well, that doesn't work when I'm by myself over there and he's away over there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's lots of things we've learned over time and put into place. And I think it's a good step. And I mean, it's all noted, right? And I mean, then we'd know who to call on for people and know who our key people would be now. We know key people from now on.
You need to start taking a look because a famous strategist once said, all battle plans fall apart as soon as you come in contact with the enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
And so looking at an emergency plan, clearly the emergency plan we had in place didn't even address this kind of thing.
No.
And some of those other logistical things are extremely important. You know, identifying who's doing what, where, how do we do that, where do we send up command set, you know, all that kind of thing. So I suspect, or I'm assuming, that you're looking at really sort of going ahead with looking at what an emergency plan is going to look
absolutely.
like.
And you're right. We learned lots from this. And I mean, let's go back to it. It was a 1 in 1,000 year event, right? So obviously it was out of the scope of anything that any of us had ever predicted or thought about, but it occurred. So now that it has occurred, you're right. We can learn lots from it. And on a go-forward basis, there will be a lot of changes.
So talking about go-forward basis, so what are the plans now for this Park Lake?
Well, maybe just back up a little bit.
Okay, sure.
You know what? We'll just maybe go back right away. The town made a decision right away to do the berms, right? So I mean those are not temporary berms. Those are permanent berms. So now, you know, Walker Street is protected, Mill Street is protected, and I mean that's done. And I mean it occurred back in 2010, 2011.
Yeah, it was 2011, I think.
And then 2001. So I mean, it hasn't been occurring. And as Yves said, it probably would have been okay if Park Lake hadn't broken, but you know what? It's done. It's done. We fixed it. So that is, and it also really helps out with the lift stations too, right?
Yes.
So that's over and done with. And then of course we had the bridge get washed out going into Rotary Park and into one family that lives there. So so that was a little bit of a gong show there for a while. We tried to figure out what we were going to do. Maybe we were going to bring a road in from Hillcrest side. Maybe we were going to look at doing something with a bridge. But the numbers, and those numbers have actually been confirmed now. We were told the bridge was 1.5 million to replace, and now it's been confirmed that it's 1.4. So I mean, it's right in there. So anyhow, but while we were under a state of emergency, we made the decision to put in a gravel culvert bridge, and we were allowed to do that under the state of emergency. We didn't need to have the government of Manitoba, government of Canada as much involved, so it's a done deal. And we're hoping on a go-forward basis, maybe it can stay. But you're right. So now you get to Park Lake. So if you have a chance, it's interesting. We spent quite a bit of time last night at the end of our council meeting talking about that. Actually, everybody on council talked about it. So it's a big topic in this town. I mean, people are really interested. It's you talk to Councillor Kostenchuk Maranka or to Daryl Gerard or anybody or Darren Pudlow. That's a question that everybody's asking. You know, they're not really asking. They're requesting that Park Lake get rebuilt.
Yes.
Yeah, like people want it rebuilt.
A lot of people. It's part. It may not be, you know, regular but it's there. It's part of what makes Neepawa Neepawa. It's that little piece of water.
For sure.
And all the wildlife that comes, because everybody knows you can take a walk or a bike or a car ride and sit on one of those things at certain times, and it just brings so much pleasure.
I think the thing that we have to start getting out, and it was discussed at the meeting last night, is that this is a long-term process. This is not going to occur in 1 year. This is not going to occur in 2 years. This is probably at least a minimum 3 years. As high as a 5-year project. We've had 5 engineers out so far that have looked at it. Government of Manitoba has been engaged in this. They are looking, but there's a lot of factors that come into it, right? Because don't forget, this lake was man-made and it's 130 years old. So I mean, technology has changed, and I mean, they're looking at it and they're going, okay, well, if you guys, they haven't even told us yet, but if they were going to help us rebuild it, or if we were going to rebuild it, there's a lot of things we would have to do differently, which of course costs more money. So that's one issue we have. I mean, the lake is obviously got a lot of silt in it. It's going to have to be dredged. I mean. Like I said, again, I guess what I can say is at that council meeting last night, absolutely every councillor, including myself, was in favor of Park Lake being rebuilt.
So
I think that's an issue.
Working on that as a basic premise.
That's a great premise from that. And
well, I know something's being floated. I've heard people float. Are there other options? Places like, for example, Ducks Unlimited that are looking at conservation areas. Could that be conceivable? Because
absolutely.
They also have engineers. They also support those kinds of things.
We've had them involved with this. We've had Watershed involved with this.
Oh, so
we've covered lots of bases on lots of different people, lots of different aspects of just to have their input.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's the same for everybody. We end up the same place all the time. It'd be great to have it back, but to have it the right way.
And that's the thing we have to decide. What is the right way? Because you're right. It could just be a wetland area, right? I mean, they've even talked about making it bigger, right? Because there is enough space there. You could actually make that lake bigger. But then it really would just be an area for ducks and nature. And But the other, I mean, a lot of people in this town and a lot of people on council would like to see it more than that, right? They'd like to see it where
like
you can put
like canoeing.
Yes,
or
but that brings a whole new set of problems,
Yeah,
right?
it
Because
does,
that's not a freshwater lake in terms of the water doesn't move through it during the
no,
summertime.
and you'd need movement.
So, but that is a possibility. You could move it, but that would take different type of engineering skills, right? And then you could maybe look at it as a recreation lake, or you could put an aerator in it. I mean, Lake Irwin has an aerator in it. Pelican Lake has an aerator, but that brings another set of issues. That brings noise to the lake, and you know. So I think that's what we decided at the council last night. That we just have to get the message out there that we're very positive on this. We definitely are. I think all the community is on the same page what we want to do here, but it's going to take time.
You need to really see what are the viable options.
Yes, and money, Money is going to be a big issue.
Well, if you look at that culverts they put in there, they're 10-foot culverts?
10 by 40 feet long,
How many?
10, two of them.
Two of them, yeah.
Well, that's not big enough to take the water. So you can imagine how much water's coming through there, Don. So like I said, we're not going down to
10-foot culverts is not enough to handle.
Not enough to handle it. This is temporary.
Yeah.
So like you go to the other end and throw a couple bricks in there and a little bit of mud, that's not going to hold back that kind of water. You know what I mean? Like there has to be a lot of stuff goes into this. It's not just as simple as us being lazy and not throwing rock in the
To
bottom.
what extent is there a time factor here, though?
Well, there may be a time factor, but I don't think it's anything we can control.
To some degree,
yes,
I think, but we can't.
No.
So in the interim, what if? So what if next spring we get a couple of days with 6 or 7 inches of water come down? And under these current circumstances, what happens?
It's going to go flow right through underneath the highway, right through to our Riverbend Park,
and then
right
up,
on through,
and then up to Arden,
and going up to Arden and so on.
And up to Gladstone, yeah.
So if we had that much rain and it comes too fast and too hard, then it's going to flood some areas out again.
Yeah.
Can we prevent that? We can't prevent that.
No.
That's just part and parcel of us doing business. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we can't do anything about it.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't know what you could do, but I guess being aware and trying to be proactive and recognizing there is some kind of timeline.
Well, that hole that blew out at the end, they said was 120 feet wide.
Yes.
120 feet.
Yeah. Have you been down to take a look?
Not lately,
No, you
no.
should go down and take a look. Yeah.
And people said, like, well, you could have tried to stop it. Well, if you think about what you just said there and think we're going to try to stop it, we'd have to get out there and try to put something on it to prevent it.
Yeah.
Well, it's
All
coming.
we'd do if it came somewhere else, what would it be if it went back, like we talked about this, over another 60 feet and took out our water plant?
Yes. And now we'd be talking. Yeah. Well,
Now we got no water.
That would have been a pure disaster. Yeah.
Like people don't realize the consequences that come from, it's easy to say, but I mean, when you're standing in the midst of it,
Well, and so
We
much
got
is
lucky.
happening so fast. Yeah, in many ways, it sounds like we did get lucky, and we need to be thankful for that. But now, have you put berms around the water plant?
No, it didn't really get affected. The way the water flows around it, we escaped.
the water goes around and makes a curve, and then it comes back. There's a couple curves in it. If we went over the dam the way it's supposed to, it makes 1, 2, 3 curves, I think, before it actually comes out on a straightaway again on the river, and then it takes another curve by the end of McBain's Street.
Yeah.
So then it kind of freelances right to the highway, right? But I mean, that all slows down the water, which is supposed to do, right? But I mean, we're in a bit of a pickle here because right now, like I said, if it would have came down harder, if it would have gone the wrong direction, we would have taken out our water plant. Then we would have been in big trouble.
And maybe that's something we'll address, and maybe we'll just talk about that in a few minutes, Don, about our new reservoir that we're going to build, right? But
Okay.
I mean, if you just want to carry this discussion we're having now through to its end, I mean, the government now has announced that they're going to approve the Manitoba disaster relief, right? So I've had a lot of people ask me, okay, so what does Neepawa get? And the answer is we have no idea. So, and no community knows right now. So the government of Manitoba has made a determination. They have gone out there, and this isn't just us or Minnedosa or Rivers. There was actually a couple of incidents down in southern Manitoba too. That's all been wrapped into it, right? So they have approximately, I think, what was it, $29.4 million for our area, I think. But again, we don't know how they allotted it. Like, you know, they've come out, they've done their studies, they've done their visuals, and so now the next step is they will be looking for numbers from us, right? So if you read that in the press release, so December 10th. So that's when everybody has to have their applications in. So like people on our street, let's take Kyle Ford. He was probably our biggest disaster there, right? So Kyle would have originally put a form in saying, you know, I need help. And now that they've approved it, he will now get in the mail, just like the Town of Neepawa will get. The Town of Neepawa will get a package. And that package will tell us what we need to do to fill out our forms to say, because we've been keeping a separate account of everything we spent on the berms, and like the individuals, we had 16 residences in town that were affected. So Kyle, he'll be keeping a track of all that, so he will submit that. And then, but it still isn't fixed, right, or solved, because the government then makes the determination at their end what percentage they're going to pay. So they may say, well, yeah, you want 100%, but we only view this as us being responsible for 85%. Or maybe on this particular thing, we only view ourselves as being 65% responsible. So it's still very confusing, right? So until we actually get our packages, and then until we actually get our checks, I mean, we don't know.
It could be down the road a little ways.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, it's a long ways down the road yet. So I think people say, well, this is great, the money's out there. Well, yes, it is. Then actually I had someone call me from a TV station, and they said, well, what do you think? And I'm saying, well, we don't know. Like, we don't know. I mean, no one knows. I mean, the mayor of Minnedosa doesn't know. The mayor of Rivers doesn't know, right? We don't know what our numbers are going to be in terms of how that $29.4 million is going to get divvied out.
Yeah, that's still still to be determined, and won't be until after December 10th anyway, because that's the deadline.
Yeah. So just so you know that. But if you go back now to what we were talking about at the water treatment plant, I don't know if you're aware or not, but we just received a grant in our for Canada, and I'm sorry, I can't think what it is, Manitoba. Anyhow, it's a Manitoba grant, and we're going to get, we've had a shovel ready for a water reservoir.
Water reservoir, I was going to ask about
so we've had a shovel ready for that, and it's going to give us the potential for 2 million instant liters of water, and at a later date we could actually add more. But so anyhow, the original projections was it was going to cost $4.5 million to build. We've been ready to go. They've stepped up with $2.25 million. It's got a couple of strings attached to it. We have to have it done and completed by March 31st, 2022, which isn't that far away, but we feel very comfortable we can do that. And I mean, it'll make a huge difference for us. Obviously, it allows us to bring another industry to town, perhaps, if that ever occurs. I mean, High Life's always talking about getting a little bit bigger, a little bit better, right? And I mean, they obviously will need more water.
So that kind of, what would that do? Like, you talk about how many million?
2 million liters.
2 million liters. So in the course of a day, how many liters would be used?
I think we use pretty close to that much.
Every day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we have no water here, Don.
Yeah, we have no water left over at the end of the day.
There's none.
Yeah.
Like, it's all used up, believe it or not.
Like, if Yves was to have a big fire, like if you go back to Prendeville, right, or Prairie Forest, right?
Prairie Forest,
I mean, that just takes absolutely, you end up not even using treated water at the end, right?
You use whatever you can.
You run out of water.
You run out of water. And that's why it's such
a
big...
because our water sources aren't that...
No, we just can't treat it enough. We don't have enough reservoir to hold it.
To hold it.
Yeah.
We can still process it, but we just can't.
So
we have no hold.
Adding the reservoir would double your capacity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Essentially. So it would give you that reserve in the event of.
Yes.
That at least it would help some ways.
Well, just for us, if the town expands anymore, we're going to need more water.
Well, of course.
If Rosedale wants more, if Langford wants more. I mean, we're just getting bigger and better, and so
Like, we got 5 pumps out there pumping now.
Yes.
Bringing water to our town.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So why just one reservoir? Why not 2?
Well,
if you're looking at
well, and this has the potential to double.
Oh, it does.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
this has the
again,
potential. Takes up to 4 million.
It's like Denise project
Yes.
with the discs.
Yes.
When I said, so if we get more, throw in more discs.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're planning for it.
This is exactly the same idea. So I guess the point I was making was that it does allow us now, because it has to be built either because of the construction of our existing water treatment plant, either has to be built on the east side or the west side of our existing water treatment plant. So it can't go north because you'd be on the street, and it can't go south. That doesn't work for piping. So I mean, I would suggest at the time that that's being constructed, then what we just talked about, right, water control of Park Lake or Stony Creek, that will be discussed at that time, right, because we're going to be digging a 3-story hole because it goes down 3 stories.
Really?
So we're going to have a lot of dirt to work with, I would suggest.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a bit.
Well, I mean, that might, as you've done with the new multi-use trail park.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that a bit later. You're going to have to recover that place anyway, and suddenly, well, lo and behold, so maybe this dovetails in like that.
Yeah, I think what I've learned in my first 2 years is that the town of Neepawa is really on the government's radar, right? I mean, it has to be. I mean, High Life has obviously is a huge factor in that, but I mean, yeah, they're always looking, they're always seeing what they can do to help, right? I mean, this.
Well, I think we're the fastest growing community north of number 1.
Absolutely, we are. Yep, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
I don't get the impression. I mean, I'm in the settlement sector. We're just waiting.
Yes.
For when travel restrictions are lightened.
Yep.
And we're going to have a flood of newcomers. We're waiting. We're sitting there waiting, ready to come.
I know.
So yeah, it's not going anywhere soon. So let's talk about. So we've from the community learned that the landfill site is getting a tremendous amount of more than they've ever gotten before. So that leads me to the question: gasifier. Okay. You knew I was going to come.
I know you were. No wonder I got a meeting on Monday. You know what? I hate to say it.
You're always says I got a meeting on Monday.
I might as well just put it on my. I might as well just put it on my phone and play it to you because I say the same thing every time. We are at the final stages, and I think I've said that for about 3 or 4 months now. But what that means, I guess I'm starting to not understand. Because to me, the final stage was there was just a few things that had to get cleaned up, and then it was going to be shipped to the site, and then we were going to have a test case, and the council was going to get a chance to be there. The board from Evergreen was going to have a chance to be there and watch it work. But
because it's an exciting proposition.
It is an exciting project.
To deal with landfill stuff in an environmentally friendly way, in a quick way.
But it's like our new lagoon, right? It's high-end technology. It's new technology to Western Canada. So you know what? It's just everybody that is building it and putting it together. It's been a learning curve for them too. And once we get one built and it works, then we'll be good to go, right? But it's like our lagoon, right? I mean, it's brand new technology, right? And for us here in Western Canada.
Yeah, well, and I gather a lot of people are watching to see if it works.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, oh no, for sure.
And certainly companies who are trying to promote their product, I would hope that they would be giving you a bit of a deal.
Well, it's interesting because really they're both comparable in the fact that the gasifier and our new lagoon, they take up zero space compared to what we have now, right? Because I mean, you just think of a landfill when you have to create a new landfill site, right? Yeah. How many acres that takes up. And with the lagoons, I mean, you got three different ponds you have to work with, right? Now we're down to one, right? Like it's a huge different technology. So yeah, no, it's exciting.
Leads me to my other one.
Okay.
The
I love it.
asphalt recycler.
Oh, you know what? And I asked Denis about that last night. I'm so excited. So okay, we're at the council meeting. So Denis was going through his list last night of all the things we're doing, and I said to Denis, okay, because I knew you were going to ask me. So I said to Denis, where are we at? So it became one of the attachments to one of our new pieces of equipment. And it came damaged, of course it did. As Denis said, the only piece of equipment that came damaged had to be the asphalt. So anyhow, we now have the parts. Mm-hmm. So now the parts have to be put on, and it is workable. So, and he is still hopeful. And I said to Denis, so what do you think? And he goes, well, no. He said, the weather's decent yet. He says nothing's.
Might be able to do a few
yeah,
tests.
Yeah, and he admitted himself last night. He said there's a few potholes I'm driving through. He said I'd like to fix. So I think there's one at the corner of 5th and Dairy Queen that's offending a lot of people. So yeah. So no. So we are, again, sounds like a broken record, but we are.
Well, the thing I'm hearing from this and previous council too, the move to say, let's get things more in our own control.
Yes.
You made the move to take care of the own snow removal, but just contract out the hauling away piece. Yeah. The asphalt recycling. Yeah. These put things more back in the hands of the community. Yeah. To say, we'll control it.
Yeah, no, we're doing a lot more of that.
Yeah. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's becoming a bit more of a trend. Communities are saying, you know what, maybe we need to, it's like this whole COVID is saying, maybe we should be making our own private protective equipment.
Yeah, no kidding.
And not buying it from way far away.
Yep, but Don, to give these guys the benefit that the credit they deserve, this new council, as much as it was a big change, they stepped into a very bad spot. I don't think they realized it when they came into here. And I said, they've dealt with everything head on and done a great job, I think, so far, and really put us back on track. Like, at least pick a direction and put us that way, and stayed to it. Not started and stopped or did something, you know, which I got to give them a lot of credit for. All of them, they've done a great job.
Well, you know, and I think that's general consensus, honestly, Yves.
Overall, except for the mayor, I didn't think it'd be like him much.
I was waiting for that. He was being way too nice.
But we are growing, and if we don't grow with it as an infrastructure, because that's really what we're talking about. The
Exactly.
Throughout the community, we're doomed. That's just the way it's happening. And forget globalization. We're doing localization, and I think that's an important piece. What else? And I'll get to these things before.
Yeah, for sure.
So talk to me about, since you've had 2 or 3 council meetings at least since the last time.
Correct.
Okay, so what happened in council?
Well, obviously, the July council meeting, I'm pretty sure, was tied up talking about the flood.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually quiet over the summer. I mean, once we got by the initial, we were just, we were building, fixing, cleaning. So really the September meetings have been actually more productive in terms of getting back into doing stuff. So again, like I said last night, we talked about Park Lake. What else did I guess we have our CN property that's still on our list of things to do. We've had a small hiccup there with Dimitri wanting hydro and gas to be there, but that's now occurring. We now have a lockdown date from Manitoba Hydro that will be occurring by the end of October, so we're back on track there, so that's really important. Because what you just said is so true, Don. I was thinking that when you said that, right? When we now are going to have enough treated water. We're now going to have the lagoon. But what we've been missing is the housing, right? It's the housing, and as you say, once High Lake gets up and ramped up again, there's going to be more people coming, more families coming, and that's something the town has really been working hard on to get, and we just really need to get this CN development underway. It's 45 units, and it's just the beginning. It won't be enough. Then we're going to have to start looking around for another development.
And there's an initiative growing, and the only reason I know that is because we're part of that system with regards to newcomers who are coming to Winnipeg, who are very interested in not living in a big city.
Right.
They come from rural where they are. They appreciate living rural, even though it'll be different. And so there were started one physical tour last year coming up to see Portage, went very well. They're now looking at virtual, and I've included us in that, so there'll be some discussion to do a tour of the community, what's available, housing, work, all those kinds of things as a promotion for the community, and that's going to happen in almost all the smaller areas outside of Winnipeg. People are looking to grow.
No, absolutely. And I think the other thing the town, we've talked about at council, is we recognize that we have fallen down on our street renewal, right? We're 2 years in. That was one of our campaign promises when we came in, was the street renewal. But we just got sideswiped this July the 1st, right? So we did have money set aside. We were going to do some new streets, and it's just besides potholes. We were actually going to do reconstruction of a couple of streets, and we were going to do some resealing of some streets, and that's just off the table this year now, right? So unfortunately, that's, as we've talked about before, that we have to balance our budget.
Yes,
we can't go in the hole. So the money that was set aside for that money has been taken to finance our financial disaster until we get our money back. So it's unfortunate, but I really believe the last 2 years of this term we will be able to get back on track with that, and also the flats, right? That's the other thing that we really want to address over the last 2 years, and again, that actually we got hurt this year with the flood too, right? Because that did some damage out there on the soccer fields and with that lift station there and everything. So again, that's going to take us a while, but we really would like to get a set of tennis courts down there, right? That's something we'd really like to do, because it's something the town had. It's not like like we never had one. We had one, but now it's gone, and we really want to get that back. So we know that, and those are priorities for us, so we really want to do those things. But you're right, it's just, it's interesting, right? You always start off the year with all these great things you're going to do, but then life gets in the way, right? Whether be the flood or the pandemic. Or,
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about the pandemic. I mean, really, it's an evolving animal, right? It just keeps changing, sort of the same, but it's shifting its shape. How do you feel you've coped with the pandemic and in terms of addressing things? How has it changed the way the fire and some of the emergency stuff does business?
Oh, well, we have to treat everything different. Like, I mean, we have to go in with masks on and everything else, no matter what. I mean, it's not as bad, say, in a fire situation, my guys put on a BA. Yeah. So, I mean, you're breathing air anyway, so it's not a big deal, right? But, I mean, even for ourselves to practice or do anything, I mean, it makes it very hard. I mean, those trucks have to get used, stuff has to get used and looked after in the hall. How do I bring 27 guys in and practice social distancing and all wear a mask? You know.
And the trouble is they're always going. They've got home. They've got family. So that whole social distancing is still important.
And it's a big thing. I mean, it's a big thing to a lot of them. Like, I mean, I got guys from High Life there, and they're quite concerned about going back there, and you know, they have real strict rules there. Yeah. I said, well, you can't come. It's one of those things, right? But like I said, you know, it's everybody wants to still be that group, right? But it's pretty hard. It does make a difference in a lot of things. And for myself, we started out the year going and we were doing all inspections of commercial buildings. We were going to take off and do all this stuff, and then it came to an abrupt stop. I mean, everything's come to a stop.
How do you see yourself starting this up again? Are you waiting for COVID to go, or just?
I don't know if we're going to wait for COVID to go. I mean, I'm going to wait out for a while yet. We're going to see what's going to happen. And I mean, the mask thing drops and everything else. I don't know if it's going to or not. But I mean, somebody's going to have to call the ball one of these days and say, look, we're moving ahead. We can't wait any longer. But I mean, I don't know who's going to be the one to do that. It might be ourselves or it might be whoever. But I mean, one day we're going to have to, right? And I think we all have to.
Things, at what point do you start really slowing down things happening?
Right. Like, and once we get back to numbers that are I think myself personally, over the summer, I was a few places where people weren't really practicing it very good, stuff like that. And I think now that we're all back at our homes and schools, and you know what, I don't care what happens in the Brandon School District, I care what happens in the Neepawa School District. So I mean, as long as we keep our numbers down, our kids are good, I think we're fine. And I think, you know, so far Neepawa has done a great job of doing what they've had to do to get this under control. And he said, as far as I know, we have no cases here. So really, good for us. And hopefully it just comes back and we can get over this hump here. And I think by Christmas we should be, you know, looking at a fact of starting out a new year and starting out, like, you know, let's get back to a normal way of life.
Normal way of life. Yeah, I think everybody really is trying to, and I guess that's why you keep hearing it pushing the term new normal. There is some normalcy, but it's not the same as it was before.
Like, I think it was something so unexpected and something we had never dealt with before. So, I mean, I even think of myself personally in that, you know, that first 6 weeks, say middle of March to the end of April. Like, there was a huge, I don't know if fear is the right word, but there was a lot of stress, right?
Yes.
We didn't know what we were dealing with. We didn't know if we were going to have 50 cases in Neepawa and 10 people in the hospital. I mean, we just didn't know, right? There was just this huge area of unknown. So I think over the last 6 months, we've come to really have a much better understanding of how this virus works. And I think, I don't want to use it as a comfort level now, but I think people are, I don't think people are, I hope they're not anyhow, I don't think they're scared anymore. I think we've started to understand that we can work within it as long as we follow the rules, right? And, you know, the rules that we're told every day about washing hands and social distancing and wear a mask and stay home if you're sick, right? But it works, and what Yves said is right. I think we have 3 active cases in our part of the world right now, right? So, yeah, in our region, and I think in Prairie Mountain there's 45 active cases. So, you know, that's pretty remarkable considering a month ago we had a couple hundred going on, right?
Because, and I think there was a lot of concern here that hospitals needing respirators, overwhelming emergencies, which didn't occur to the same extent it did in places like Italy or Spain, where the concentrations were so much higher. We have sort of dodged a bit of that bullet.
But the pictures you saw were somebody gasping for air and on their way out.
Yes.
And everybody thought, if you get it, that's what you're going to look like, and you're going to die.
I know, that was me.
You know, and our biggest fear was, you're all going to die if you get it, be careful.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to die.
And you're right. We've learned from it, but we've also learned that it can be asymptomatic.
Yes.
We've also learned that it can be different kinds of symptoms to different people.
Yep.
And that sometimes it can stick with people for a while, and sometimes, bang, you do your thing and you're done. You know, it's been a very, very challenging thing. How do you feel in terms of the town's response with regards to trying to?
Oh, I think
do
we've
their
done. Yeah, I think
efforts?
we've done. I think the town's done a great job. I mean, and I really like the fact that we've really formed a good alliance with High Life, right? Like High Life is obviously. I mean, you hear that over and over again, but High Life's done a tremendous job in this community of doing everything they can to keep us safe and secure. And I guess you probably got that bag of masks at your door there.
Oh,
right?
yes, much appreciated. I thought it was a heck of a good idea.
Yeah, and I mean, that was High Life. High Life promoted that. They didn't want the credit for it. They just wanted to say, we have this available, as did Port Manitoba. They had money available, but they wanted the town to take care of it. And, so Touchwood got involved with getting the bags ready and then helping to deliver, and then the town delivered. And that was a great initiative, and that really showed a really good partnership.
Well, the thing that sort of impressed me, there was a couple of announcements where High Life were doing their community, still doing their community givings in terms of to support this and support that. Let's face it, they're a huge player in town.
They are a huge player.
And
They've had major expense in this too, though. Major expense out of their plant, keeping this out of there.
Oh,
yeah.
Without question.
Without question. I mean, it's amazing that they still have extra to help out everybody else. So they've done a great job, for sure.
Well, when I think of some of the protocols they put in place are extra protocols and involve extra. It's hopefully will all weather this well.
It's funny, we were just sitting this morning, it's as the things evolve. So we're sitting this morning saying, is Halloween going to occur this year, right?
Right.
And I think we probably decided that'll be a provincial-led thing, right? I guess at some point they will give us direction on that, saying, you know what, people can go door to door, or...
Well, if you look at it logically, people can go door to door and you can still do social distancing.
Right.
Right?
And you can go in groups of maybe 10.
Yeah.
Instead of groups of 30 kids and parents. Well, you just, if you are reasonable about it, it can still happen.
Yeah.
Social distancing, I think, has been one of the critical
I think so
keys.
too, yeah.
Masks have been an added thing. And at Halloween, kids are wearing masks anyway,
I know. It would be the candy, I guess, they're receiving.
It'd be the handling thing.
Yeah, it'd be the
is
handling
issue,
thing,
right?
yeah.
But you see, with handling, apparently,
Yes.
within 24 hours, if you don't touch it,
Yeah.
should be fine. Or there's
Were you ever 5 years old, Don?
I was going to say that.
I'm just wondering.
Gosh, it feels like never, but yeah. But yeah. And some days it feels like every day, right?
Yeah.
But if we're going to be reasonable and approach it, how can we do that?
Yeah, I think it'll occur. It's interesting. They said in the Spanish flu it didn't happen, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, Spanish flu was a whole different time.
Yeah, and they didn't have the same understanding.
Different kinds of things,
Yeah.
and the Spanish flu was a killer.
Yeah, and it was chasing a different segment of the population
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
And so it's all going to be
Christmas parade. I still think we fully expect to do our Christmas parade. I mean, we don't see any reason for that not to occur. So.
We can keep physical distance
Absolutely.
between cars.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
People locked up,
I don't want to
don't
see
let anybody
Yves not there with his fire truck. So.
The thing will.
Thanks.
Dude,
I get to drive a fire
wear your
truck.
hat. The thing will be people lining up on the street.
Yes. But again, they'll hopefully stay in their pods or their cohorts, and
And I think a lot of PR beforehand saying we only can do this if you cooperate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of people, you go a lot of places, like I know I've been in stores or something, waiting at the service station to pay for gas or something, and somebody will come in and, oh, sorry, I'm too close, and they'll back up.
They back up.
And it's starting to be more of a normal thing, right?
Yeah.
And people are doing it more and more, and it's second nature to you now, right?
Yep.
Where at first, you don't care.
Well, I think more and more people are being looked at a bit askance. Why aren't you wearing a mask?
Oh, absolutely.
It's as much for you, me wearing a mask, as it is for me.
Yeah.
It's that.
It's not a big deal, and you know what? You guys look a lot better with yours on. I don't know why you don't have one now. That's what I was going to say, but hey.
We were waiting for
We were waiting for this.
Who asked him to come along?
Remember I said that an hour would be a little bit longer?
So one of the things I noticed you did at council, you just handed me this, and that's you as mayor are proclaiming the week of October 4th to October the 10th, 2020, as Fire Prevention Week.
There you go.
And you want people to check their kitchens for fire hazards, do safe cooking practices. So let's talk about that.
The big push this year is the kitchen and the cooking process, right?
So what do you clearly have a sort of a target. What are you looking for? What do you want people to be aware of?
Oh, just more aware of what you're doing on your stove and stuff like that. What you're cooking and leaving stuff on and stuff like that. That's what the big push is. Because a lot of our calls are usually in a kitchen. Somebody has left a round on by accident, or, it's burnt.
Okay.
Or they put something on and just forgot about it. Or, you know what, the element stuck every now and again and I wasn't careful with this one. Just take everything off your stove is the big thing, the big push.
So to celebrate it, are you handing out pamphlets? Are there any videos available you're going to use?
What we're going to do is there's
video?
some stuff posted on Facebook. We're going to do a little blurb every day for somebody. And actually, to tell you the truth, the Town of Neepawa, they called, and this group has set up a bunch of books here, wherever they are. Here's one of them. Here's another one.
Okay.
And what they've done is they've gone to all the businesses, or quite a few of the businesses, and they donated money, and they've printed me 64 of the other ones. So what I'm going to do, they're from 5 to 7, this age group, and this one's 7 to 11. So I'm going to take them to the school and drop them off.
Okay.
And they can donate them to the kids, whatever they want to do. There's a little exercise in here to go through with their parents and do some odds and ends. And just it has everything from all the safety tips. To go through your house, practice a plan, escape plan, all that. Check your smoke detectors.
We should maybe talk, because I would suggest that maybe you look at a little bit of a contest where the prize is a ride in the fire truck. For
you have to
kids.
social distance. You have to ride in the back.
Well, whatever, but kids and fire trucks.
Yeah.
By all means.
We should talk, because I know that there's a lot of things that people can do at home. We should talk about this, because I think to dovetail in with that, there's a lot we can do in terms of making sure that promotion gets out further.
No, for sure. And it's too bad this year because of all the things that I know. And I never saw well, I shouldn't say that. I see the thrill because I love riding a fire truck. But I mean, kids love a fire truck. People don't like police because Mark Moorhouse, nobody likes him anyways. But as far as, a fire truck, everybody loves a fire truck. And I never saw the big glory to go ride in a fire truck. But I mean, I guess if I was, again, like I said, 5 years old, I'd love to ride in a fire truck.
No, you're right. Yeah.
So you know what? Every guy and a lot of gals at some point or another think about being a fireman.
Oh, for sure.
Yep. And I think it's something simple like that's doable.
Well, yeah, it's doable. You'll never be as good as me, Don, but I mean, you can shoot for it. It's a goal.
You can't edit, right?
Oh dear. Yeah, we can edit this, I'm sure. But in terms of for the kids, so we should talk.
No, I think that'd be a good
because
idea.
I think it's a wonderful idea, and I think it's an important message to get out, and I think there's a way we can certainly engage more of the community. So we'll talk further on that.
It'll be good.
The other thing I think you should talk about is, because it's no one's fault. I mean, obviously we just have a lot of people living in a lot of houses in Neepawa because of what occurs at High Life. So, I mean, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, Yves, that's something that's so important.
This is something that we're going to post and everything else, but I do wish people would check them. Like, it's not very hard to do. You just go push the button and make sure it rings, and it's for your own safety. Because at this time of year, like I said to Blake this morning, we were talking for a minute, I said, my furnace runs, you know what, it's kind of big and it heats up my whole house. I'm just going to put a heater on in the living room. The heater, if it's a bought-in heater, it can't be on an extension cord, it's going to be CSA approved. I mean, they're temporary heat. You have to watch it, and then when you leave the room, you're supposed to turn it off. And those things worry me at this time of year. And people around, they put it, people are walking here, so they put a mat over the cord or something. All these kind of little things that worry me. And same with, like I said, at least if a smoke detector rings, it's going to wake you up. And we know for a fact, last year there was people lost their lives over smoke detectors didn't work.
Yeah, and you know what? It's one of those things you put in, you walk away and forget.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. I just, early summer, I realized that I'd put them they were wired in, put brand new ones in when I came, and they were starting to make a noise. I went up. Well, it was time to replace them. So I replaced them.
Yeah.
Again for another 7 years, but you check them because they're battery backup and they're wired in otherwise. But Yeah?
Yeah, even the wired-in ones, they have battery backup now. That's what
Yeah.
those governments ask for. And I mean, the thing is, those batteries still wear out in a year,
Yep.
unless you buy the 10-year batteries, of course. But I mean, you have to know that. But I mean, we had one the other day. A lady called, and she had a CO detector beeping. Wasn't ringing, but it was beeping. I mean, she said it did most of the day. She finally got scared at night and called. Of course, she's all upset to the fact she called. Don't be upset if you phone us. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'd rather you be safe than not.
Yeah.
But I mean, here was just a faulty detector, which was thank God it was. But you know, it's a safety thing. Just, you know, if you're not sure, just call. We can go down and check it, make sure.
Well, all it takes is one fire and one death.
Yep.
Well, and like I've said before, people can phone the town office and leave a number and a name, and I can go by and stop in and see you. Like, I mean, I'm busy enough, but I mean, I still got time to do that.
Yeah.
And see if there's something I can help you with. You know? It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I'd rather you be safe.
Well, so that's exciting. So how's the town going to promote it?
Oh, good question. I guess I never asked that question.
That's why you're here. I asked you the big questions.
You're going to ride on the back of the fire truck. That's what it's going to be.
I did the proclamation. I left it up to the administration staff.
But well, that'll be interesting, you know, because I think, you know, it's a community effort. I think we need to see it as a community issue.
Well, we're pushing kids big time now, more than parents, because parents are hard to teach, right? But I mean, the kids, you know, it's
so
amazing.
Clearly, to be in his good books, you need to be 5 years old.
You have to be, really. But they are good, because they do little projects and do stuff, and they go home and they actually tell their parents.
Yeah.
And then the parents have to do it, because I mean, how do you not tell your child? So it is a good thing. I like the idea of hitting the kids and then, you know, working.
I think it's a wonderful idea. So we'll move from that. We're sort of moving all around because there's so much to catch up on. The multi-use trail park is open.
Yep.
Okay. Now I went to check it out.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm assuming there's going to be signage indicating paths and trails.
There is some there now, but it's going to get bigger and better.
Well, because I wasn't sure where you started.
Yeah. I don't think there was any start spot, but now.
Well, it'd be nice just to have, when you're going there, it'd be nice.
Yep.
The interesting thing I did see was a particular sort of a sports equipment shop who was coming up here to deliver some sports equipment to a local person who uses sports equipment here. Saw them with their truck pulled up, bring out their really fancy, nice bikes, and off they were ready to rock and roll. So.
It's been busy.
Oh, it's been very busy.
Very busy.
As it turns out, that's where we started our council meeting. Well, our council start last night was at the bike park. So we went up there and took a look, and Denis, our town manager, and Daryl Gerard, they both brought their bikes. So they showed us, right? So they rode around and they showed us, and we walked. We were probably up there for about an hour. It is spectacular. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't really understand it, and I don't fully understand it yet, but it's going to be an unbelievable tourist draw for the town of Neepawa.
Well, there are already people coming from other places.
All over the place,
And because the levels are so now, it's all dirt right now.
It's all dirt.
That's going to be grass.
Yeah, there'll be grass, absolutely. There will be trees planted. We're hoping to get in our picnic areas. There'll be benches.
And you can get around to that east side, and you're going to have a little bit of a picnic area there.
Yep.
As well, that's a nice.
And don't forget the Canada Trail, the great trail. It goes around the whole thing too.
It comes into there too, the walking path.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really special. I mean, again, and I've talked about it a couple times now. I just want to mention it again. I mean, this is like being on a ski hill, though, right? You have to apply common sense, right? You can't just go.
Well, they've also graded the trails, right?
Yes.
Right.
And people need to pay attention.
Yes.
That's why the sooner signage can get up to be blatant.
Yeah.
This is an expert trail.
Yes. Because
well, somebody told me it takes like 30 minutes to ride the whole thing.
Oh, good point. See, I didn't know that.
If you can ride.
Yeah, could be.
That's what somebody told me. And I said, so if you went somewhere where you don't know where you're going or don't know anything about it, would you jump on and go full speed, or would you maybe take a little bit of a cruise around first to make sure you know what you're driving into?
Yeah.
And see what, because there's been people injured.
Yeah, we've had broken shoulders. We've had
for not.
Well, I think you've got to expect people need to use some common sense.
Yeah.
And people need to. There should be a big sign. Ride at your own risk.
Yeah, it's all coming. Yeah,
you know,
it's all coming,
I mean, now having said that, you handed me this.
Yes.
Now, camera can just see this. This will be posted on your Facebook.
Yes.
Okay. because if you don't know, we have a very large bike club already existing in town that go to competitions, do all sorts of things. So there's a jump clinic at Neepawa's multi-use trail park, and if you don't know where it is, head to the cemetery. Don't stop in the cemetery. Go north, and you'll find it. The parents and riders, there are 5.1 kilometers of bike trails ready to use. Let's learn how to enjoy safely. So there is an introduction to jumping clinics. I'm assuming jumping with your bike, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
With trainer Wayne Bishop, a 3-hour introductory training for cyclists to learn to jump. It's going to happen on Saturday the 19th.
Correct.
This coming Saturday. There are 2 sessions, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. or 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. Now there is a cost to this, so you have to be serious about really wanting to skillfully learn how to jump, and it's $50 per person. You must be 12 years of age or older, nobody under 12, which makes sense.
Yep.
And you must bring your own bike, your own safety equipment, which I'm assuming is helmet, knee pads probably,
Yep.
elbow pads potentially,
Thinking.
face mask, one of these, and water. And register, you simply call Marilyn at the town office.
Correct.
476-7607. Advanced registration and payment are required to attend. Due to the COVID-19, clearly, space is limited. Clinic will be canceled if the trails are muddy. Now, Saturday looks like a good weather.
I think it is, yeah.
I think it's pretty decent.
Sunday
Pretty
might
nice,
be
actually.
some rain, but I think Saturday would be really good. If you really are into biking and you want to develop your skill set, then this it probably is an ideal course for you on our brand new multi-bike trail. And we've just heard other things are coming, like picnic benches, trees planted, grass, but it's there, it's done.
Yep. No, it's and Marilyn said that's filling up very fast. She's actually had people from Dauphin, from Brandon.
Well, and this is
Yeah.
the thing that was talked about at the
Yeah.
beginning, was it's not just simply going to be a local venue,
Oh.
it's going to attract people from all over.
Yeah.
Because there's people in Winnipeg are desperately looking for places
Yeah.
to go to do some really
yeah.
fun cycling and challenging cycling.
Well, she was saying this morning there's some that are smaller areas around. Some of the smaller towns have just a small little trail or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is pretty challenging.
Well,
the way they're talking.
We've been told from the experts that have come here that it is, and because it's new, that means
Yeah.
it's got all
Yeah.
the new additions to it, but they say it is probably the best in Western Canada. So,
Well, when I look
Yeah.
at it, I'm seeing these slats
I
of
know,
wood up.
I know.
And I'm seeing cyclists coming and doing something on the inside, and then someone coming and doing it on the outside.
know.
It's just it's got such use.
Well, I was up in the north end of it, and there's a bunch. I guess it's for the lesser riders, it'd be like you.
Yeah, yeah.
It'd be, but there's a lot of neat stuff for the kids up in the top there,
Yeah, yeah,
just to ride over and
yeah,
play around on it.
yeah.
It was really quite exciting.
And they are going to, at some point, create a little playground there for the kids. And yeah, I mean, we're still only probably 70% completed there. So
That's exciting, though.
Yeah.
That's good news. And
Well,
you
I
talked
sure-
about wanting to get on with other kinds of things in the town. So what else do you see? Like, what do you see going forward? You've talked about wanting to take a look at some of the road repair. That was on your agenda. You've talked about the flats. We talked about more housing. And what else do you see in the future? Okay, I'll ask a question we've had before, and you referred to that kindly vertically challenged gentleman before. New RCMP building. Is there any further discussion on that?
do you know what? That has been very quiet, and I don't know if that's because of COVID
Yeah.
or just because of money restrictions. But there is something I can talk about today, and I think actually I think this is, and I asked our acting sergeant, Mark Moorhouse, and he says, absolutely, I can tell you this. So
Okay.
he had made a decision 6 years ago that he never wanted to be the staff sergeant. He just wanted, because he wasn't sure about his future.
Yeah.
And there has been, due to different factors, we've never had a truly locked, so that is now occurring. We do have a staff sergeant, and he is going to be here Monday.
Wow.
Yeah, so Mark
Yeah.
gets to step back a little bit, and maybe he and maybe he'll make a decision in his world too. But this isn't like, this is something Mark always knew was going to happen. It probably should have happened 4 years ago. Because it's something he had actually said he didn't want to be. So anyhow, we have a guy by the name of Kobe coming.
Oh, okay.
And he is from Manitoba. He originally from Manitoba. He is. I don't know much about him. I just know he is living in Brandon. His family's in Brandon, and he will stay there because of the kids in the school system and the job that his wife has. But he will be coming out here on a daily basis. So.
Okay. Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Argue.
Argue. Yep.
Argue.
Yeah,
Well, welcome to Staff Sergeant Argue.
Yeah, and yep. So and I think Mark was pretty. I think Mark, as Mark's saying, I hope it takes a little bit off his plate, right? I mean, obviously.
And it definitely will.
Yeah.
Mark said, I'm just going to take the books and go here. Have a nice day. We're done.
Well, and I mean, he said right at the beginning, this is interim. Just till
he's
somebody
always
can
said
come.
that. Yeah. So that's
okay.
that's exciting. What can I'd like to maybe just go back quickly on the bike park, talking about new things.
Yeah.
Don't forget, I mean, this is also built for winter. So again, when we were walking through it last night, you'll be able to snowshoe, you'll be able to cross country ski.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and we are talking about tobogganing, and as it was discussed last night, we're not sure where that's going to occur. I mean, we're probably going to almost let the kids pick that out, right? Because they're pretty smart about stuff like that. So they'll probably say, well, this is the hill we want to use. And then once we get that arrived at, then we'll work around that, building that, making it so that it maybe has more
not
snow.
Interfere with the trails.
Yes, yeah.
But be
because you
a
can't
thing
do,
that the
you
kids
can't,
could go to.
yeah, because you can't do fat bikes out there, you're right. The cemetery, you mentioned that, driving through on your way to the bike park. So we have been working at the cemetery too, obviously.
Yes, I was
Yeah,
going to ask
like
you.
again, we kind of wandered off on that this summer because of the flood and all the equipment, but we are back there now, and the landscaping has started, and we've also taken out some of the older damaged trees, but there is going to be a huge replanting occurring there. It's interesting, we've had a lot of very positive comments on people saying that they're very pleased with the way the cemetery looks. So that's really good. But
Well, and now there was talk at some point in time about extending or adding a columbarium.
yes.
And is that still
I think,
sort of in
yeah,
the
it's
works?
still in the works. Like I said, we kind of wandered off and everything, unfortunately, that we talked about building a pergola there too, right? That people
Yes.
could hold services at, and that got put to the side because, again, about money. But yeah, we're underway, and over the next year, I think you're going to see it get cleaned up, not cleaned up, but get finished, and we've got our hydro seeder. I mean, I don't know, I think we've talked about that. We bought a hydro seeder that allows us to actually blow our own grass seed on now.
Yes.
So, and that's actually already been used at the cemetery. It will be used at the bike park. Not so much, it's going to be more natural grass at the bike park. It'll be used on the berms. Denise actually done a really good job over the last couple of weeks because those berms all have to be built of clay. He's now brought in all the topsoil. That's all been done, and people's back.
Well, you do want grass to
Yeah,
prevent erosion.
yeah,
just to keep it.
and even people's backyards,
He's fixing them up.
Yeah,
They're
he's
starting
fixing.
to look
Yeah,
like something
really,
again.
really
People have
nice.
done a great job.
Yeah.
People
When
have
you
been
take
very
a look,
patient.
if you looked at them as they were flooding, and you looked down there and saw that water, to look at it now.
Yeah.
Took a drive down there just a week or so ago, just to take a look, and it was really, when you think, God, think back to July, the long weekend, and what it looked like and what it looked like.
And Riverbend Park, of course. I mean, we're working hard on that. And the campground, I was just talking to Darren Cameron. He's the manager up there, and he says it's, he said it's just amazing how, if we could get that somehow, talking about expansion, if that's, and I don't know, we're not sure how, but we are looking at that. I mean, that is going to be the future now in our new COVID world, right? People love to camp. And if we could somehow make that campground with a few more sites, it would be great. We're not sure we can, but yeah.
I know a number of people who live out of town and who have happened to come here, and the comments about the campground have been extremely positive.
No, and it's funny, I asked that of Darren yesterday. We were talking about it, and I said to Darren, and Darren says, well, there's a lot of factors that go into that, Blake. He says, first of all, it's easy to find. He says, we're right off the highway, so when you're pulling up your GPS. He says, but when you go in there, he says, it's laid out really nice. You got lots of grass, you got trees, you got privacy. Like he said, he said that people have always come away with a really good, positive response. So
It would be nice, because you're right. I think one thing taken from COVID is, I think people are going to look at exploring their own backyard, so to speak, more. Canada's got some amazing, people come from all over the world to take a look at Canada's stuff, and maybe we take a lot of things for granted. And even in our own province, there's lots of really fine places to go, camp and tent,
Oh, we
all
got a
sorts of
great,
things.
that campground's in an ideal spot for lots of things. Like the pool is right there. If
Yeah.
you have kids, you can camp, go to the pool.
Yeah.
If the guy doesn't want to hang around with his family, which most people guys don't want to, they can go up and golf. We got a great golf course in
Yeah.
Neepawa. I mean, there's so many things that you can do right here. Now we got the bike park. I mean, if people could come here, I can't believe the trucks come into town with bikes in the back.
Oh, I know.
It just shocks me.
Oh,
like,
look, everybody wants to challenge themselves. Hence the ambulance.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's what's going to happen.
And as we talked about it last night, I mean, you don't see it, but I mean, it occurs in hockey, it occurs in
Oh, yeah.
volleyball,
Yeah.
it occurs. I mean, any sport.
In any sport you
yeah,
take, there's a
yeah,
risk.
Yeah, there's a risk.
And you might want to consider signage about
Oh, no.
at your own risk.
It's
And
all
also,
occurring, yeah.
any child under the age should be in the supervision of an adult.
Yeah, no, that's
right?
all
That
occurring.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
no,
But
it just got so quickly so accepted that people just want to be on it,
On it,
right?
yeah.
I know.
well, I didn't think it would go like the
No,
first weekend. It
no.
would be that crazy.
No.
Like, I thought there might be a few people go out and try it.
Yeah.
You can hardly drive down the street there for the bikes going.
No.
well, we're getting a resurgence of people biking.
Yeah.
We've gone through phases, but people are saying, we're here,
Yeah. No, I know.
and there's something there. Tell me, how did the swimming pool go this year?
Okay, good. I was going to mention that. It went extremely well. We had a great summer for it. The weather was great. We added a few more staff this summer to allow for better supervision on the social distancing.
Were there any issues with that?
No, it worked out really well. No, everybody was really good. And I think at the top end, they were at maybe 120 were allowed in the pool at one time. But over 100 anyhow. And yeah, they had no issues. No, it worked really well. Lessons went well. No, it was really good. No,
I used to pool regularly in the summer. There's an old guy lap swim, right? And they're extremely pleasant.
yeah, no, there was
Very friendly.
Yeah,
and
it was
a
good.
really nice.
And that again, if you're talking
never
about
had any issues.
you're talking about the future, that is a development again that was kind of on the radar of
yeah,
the
we
town
had
council.
talked about maybe just extending a bit to the east, to Splash,
Splash Park,
something like
yeah,
that.
and
because
yeah.
we're not going to go indoor pool.
No,
I
oh,
remember
no,
when we
no.
had that discussion and heard the figures.
Yeah.
How many swims it would take
And how many
to
towns
keep going.
and how many towns have said it has not been one of their best
Yeah.
ideas, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean that again is still on our radar. But as you say, there's so many places that the town needs to put money, right? And whether it be in infrastructure or whether it be in housing or more street development or I mean we've got the Eastview Lodge again that came up last night. That once we get the CN underway, we think we have the potential for. I think there's still 2 left on the hill, or 3, and then you got potential for 13 behind it, right?
Yep.
And we'd
actually
love,
quite a potential
yeah,
there.
and we want to get.
I wouldn't have thought there were that many
yeah,
sites
it's going to be
available.
created like a bay, eh?
There's
like
quite a few.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's
And,
quite a few there.
yeah. So that's something we really want to get underway with too, right? Because it's such a big part of our town.
Well, and actually, minus the flood damage, is a very pretty view.
oh, it's a great
Oh.
view. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lovely view.
Yeah.
So yeah. Otherwise, I don't know what else to say, Don. Yeah, it's just. Yeah, I mean, and we're back into fall, right? So that means that we're back into. I mean, well, maybe we could talk about the school system. It's funny. I was sitting with Councillor Pudlow last night, and I was asking Darren how that was going, and Darren was saying he said he was really amazed at the resilience of his class. Right? He just said the fact that they just understand this is the way the world is going to be, right? You have to wear a mask, you have to social distance. My best friend is going to be in a different cohort package, and I'm not going to be able to play with them at recess, which is unfortunate.
Now that's
Yeah.
interesting to
Yeah.
hear some feedback
Yeah.
from the school. How's it going? Because let's face it, everybody realized you put things together, but you have no idea how it's going to translate.
Yeah.
From parents' ends, from teachers' end, and you're right. The kids are probably the most resilient. Okay, so what's the deal? We've configured this out. What's the deal?
Yeah, that's exactly right. What's the deal? What? We're used to being told the rules. Okay,
Yeah.
so what are the new rules?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said it's worked well. I mean, he said there's issues. I mean, he had a child throw up on him, or he's had, and those are issues that were just a non-issue before,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so the child's sick, but now there's a whole set of protocols that come into place, right? So I mean, it's a learning curve, but I mean, yeah,
And things can change. There's a lot of talk about saliva-based testing.
yes,
That's instantaneous.
I'd love
And
to get to
you
that.
can self-administer, and I think we're going in that direction.
I hope so.
And my perception is that it will take away some of the anxiety.
Oh, it will.
The general
Absolutely.
anxiety, because suddenly, if you need to, or you're concerned about it, or you're showing symptoms, you take the test.
Yeah.
Right.
And if it says, oh, positive, then you contact public health
Yeah.
to take further tests to confirm it and go from
Right.
there.
Yeah.
And then they track you. But it can make a difference.
Well, and the sports has been the big push behind that, right? It was the NBA and the NHL and now college football, right? It's been a huge part of getting that up
Well,
and running, right?
How much money is professional sports losing on this?
Oh, for sure. But
And how much money is the general public saving?
oh, a lot.
Wow. Yeah. Well.
There were some comments about the spending power and the debt, people paying down debt.
Yep.
We're not spending it on a lot of the other recreational stuff we were.
Right.
People doing home renovations, as we mentioned perhaps earlier, because, well, I'm not going to be going on a trip today, so
No.
this week or month or summer, so I will fix that back room, or I will do that renovation in the basement.
Oh, and there was lots of people who just never came out, or didn't work. A kid come, but you know what?
Yeah.
We decided we better stay home and be safe, right, or whatever. And there's tons of people did that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Like, it's going to be a really, I know this is a little off topic, but I mean, it's going to be amazing how many businesses, or, okay, like even take doctor appointments. We've always known that we could change the format of these things, and it would probably work to our advantage, but no one ever had the courage or the need to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was just saying that like yesterday, thinking that normally we had to go to Winnipeg to our doctor's appointment, right? And I've heard a lot of people over the years say that, right? You've got to drive in. It's a 4-hour drive. It's a 10-minute talk with your doctor,
So now it's a 10-minute telephone
yes,
conversation.
and we've always asked why hasn't that occurred, and that was because the doctor wouldn't get paid. But now that's all changed, right? So now,
Well, because they can count that as a legitimate visit.
So that's going to change the world.
It could do. And now it's hard to get in to see them beyond a telephone call. If you've got something you actually say, look, you need to see this.
Yeah.
I know.
But I think the same is true when we take a look at meetings.
Yes.
We take a look at larger, there are conventions that are becoming virtual. Now, there are some downsides. That whole networking piece and exchanging, friendships and stuff isn't there. But in terms of content, you can still do that. And I think a lot of businesses are
Well, you must travel
going to.
less now, Don.
Oh,
wouldn't
far
you?
less.
Yeah.
And what was a conference call before, pretty much now they're all Zoom.
Yeah, they're all
or,
Zoom, yeah.
or Microsoft or whatever. And going forward, they will continue to be. I think even when this is done, I think
Won't go
be
back.
fewer and fewer. The cost savings to a lot of organizations. We have an annual meeting in Toronto every year, right? Some businesses. Well, why am I sending somebody from Calgary? We'll do it virtually.
Yeah.
Get the work done, and just miss that other piece.
Like, it's going to affect a huge part of that economy, right? The planes,
Yeah.
the hotels, the tourist side. I mean, that is going to really affect those employees, but it's going to be adaptable.
Maybe we can get the jobs on the manufacturing side.
Yeah, maybe.
Because you're right, that whole tourism industry, the service industry like that is going to have impacts. The bars that can stay open only because they can do patio.
Right.
And now they're talking about they're going to put in big heaters for
I
the
know.
patio so they can still do patio.
I know.
Right.
But I talked to contacts in Toronto who figure 50% of the restaurants and bars will be toast. They won't be able to come back.
No, I
because
appreciate
it's
that.
not.
No, they're gone.
You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're done forever.
Yeah. It has changed our world. And as we've talked about today, it's made changes in our world here, but not as much as you said. We haven't been as impacted as some other communities.
No,
No.
I agree.
No, we haven't. Like I said, we missed out the restaurant thing a little bit, but I mean, we could always shop. We could always do whatever. We could go and move around. I mean, what did we really miss out on? I mean, nothing was really...
And now the
basically
restaurants are
done.
open again, and
Yep.
you go in, you don't have that huge crowds, but you can still get into the
Yeah,
restaurant.
oh, absolutely.
And you can still do that. You know what I miss? This is a personal comment. I'm sorry about editorializing, but I miss buffets.
I know.
The selection you can get in a buffet. It's not that I don't like a la carte, but
Well, I thought maybe you'd miss the guy listening to everything you say to your wife when you're sitting across him, because he's sitting right next to you. I missed that. Sorry. Never thought for a minute.
but we have had those little changes.
Yeah.
No, it is. There's lots of little things
Yeah.
like that you probably never.
So going forward on council, anything coming up that you're going to be looking at?
No, I don't think so. I think I've kind of told you what again, I guess I would just say we are coming into our third year, which is hard to believe, another
that
month.
amazing?
And I think,
Another year you're gone.
I know. So I think really we will see, I always said it was, we only had Councillor Parrott, Councillor Gerard, and I guess I never really understood how long it would take to get a good understanding of how council works and how money works and how timelines work. So I think that we do have a good idea of that now. I think you will see the last 2 years of our council be very interesting. I just think you're going to see a lot more of the council engaging and with hopefully moving forward in some of the projects that we talked about at the very beginning of our.
Well, we've had so much happen in the last three years.
Yep.
And just it seems really, as you were saying, it's just sort of, it's steamrolling.
Yeah.
Certain things are starting to happen now.
Yeah.
And there's momentum, and you can't lose the momentum.
No. So I'm pretty excited about that. No, otherwise I think. No, I don't think there's anything else. Like I said, we know we need more housing. We know our infrastructure is in place. We talked about street renewal. We talked about the flats. Those are our goals right now. So.
Okay.
Good direction.
So I guess we're getting close to being at the end of the program. Talked ourselves out, shared some information. And so is there anything in particular you want to say finally? Anything to add?
I don't think there's a whole bunch. I'm kind of happy with where it is.
No, I think I'm good too. It's just funny when we were talking about how this fall might unfold. We never talked about the fact it'd be interesting to see with our social distancing, with our wearing masks, with our protocols, how the flu season will arrive here.
That's true, because we're moving into flu season.
And it'd be interesting to see because some of the European countries or Australia have said, well, it wasn't as bad as they expected, right? Because of the social distancing, the wearing the masks, the washing of the hands, that the flu season actually was less than they expected. So.
Well, remember, the flu virus, if I'm not mistaken, is a coronavirus.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so some of the dynamics are similar, not all, clearly. So those kinds of practices, it just is logical that they would impact on lessening the contact. So it is helping all the way around. And but you're right, flu season's coming. Let's see how that does, and it may become a bit complicated. So do you have flu or do you have COVID?
That's right.
Okay. So.
Well, see, and that's the thing I don't understand with people. Like, if you got up tomorrow morning and you weren't feeling exactly right, are you just having a bad day?
Exactly.
Or are you getting the flu? Or do you have all the symptoms of COVID? They're telling you to run in and get tested. I think that's the myth that people have. They run in and get tested and then, I don't have it.
Well, and also,
got it in the 14
public
days
health is not encouraging you to run in unless you have real symptoms for a bit.
Just wait and see what's happening.
That's where the saliva test would help.
That would be great.
I know.
But right now, it's if you don't feel well, don't come in.
Yeah.
Just see how you're feeling in a day or two, and if you feel you need, then you call the line. They'll tell you to get tested or not, and there you are. And I think I've found to be of good support is major funders in our country are provincial governments and federal governments. Lots of our money comes in some way from there.
Absolutely.
And they've been extremely supportive of people, and so have businesses. Stay home. You're not going to lose money.
Yep.
And that's a big fear. People would come into work because they feel, But with the COVID, it also has had its challenges with people saying, oh, this is a great way to take the summer off.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, and hopefully the system will eventually track those down, and there will be some sort of response. But
there will be.
The truth is, most people have been very responsible with regards to it.
Yep. No, I agree with that.
I think overall it's gone very well.
Me too. I think
really.
We could have been in much better shape. Look at what was it, 90-some thousand a day in India?
Yeah, that makes no sense, right?
But the numbers. I mean, when you got 2 billion people.
Yeah, I know. That's right.
The concentration is pretty.
I
and
know.
It's not there are mountains, there are places that aren't.
But Don, when we were talking the other day at the care home, and he was saying, when Mom was in there, they'd say, if the flu season would come, we'd always lose 1 or 2 people.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Just from the flu, people bringing it in. Please stay out if you're not feeling well. Please don't do this, don't do this. And a couple of people would go. When you think of the number of people we've lost in Manitoba, if you think of all the care homes, if we lost 2 in every care home, our numbers are way down on COVID. They're not horrible.
Yeah, no, Manitoba's done a great job.
Like, we've done a great job here.
Yeah,
It's just a matter of...
the big thing is looking at getting back on track.
Yeah, that's the problem. We have to get back on track.
Economically, we have to keep that in mind, and I think more and more the thinking is moving to that direction.
Yeah, I think overall it is.
We've sort of gone all over the map here. This is council checkup, and we have checked up on council and other things that are going on in the community that relate directly to what council does. Once again, if you have any questions at all you'd like me to present here at council checkup, contact the station. They'll take it down and we'll include it in our conversation. We'd be happy to. So you've got an opportunity. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. It's been an interesting summer. COVID, floods, back to school, all sorts of stuff, and we'll just see how it unfolds. And until next time, I'd like to thank our guests here, Blake, our mayor, Yves, our fire chief. If you see somebody leaning out the window, driving a fire truck, honking a horn, without any question, it'll be Yves. From me, Don Walmsley, your host of Council Checkup, thank you for tuning in. And I hope you've had a good summer, and I think we're going to have a good fall, it sounds like. Predictions seem to be maybe a decent, reasonable fall.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll move into a really nice winter. And be safe, keep your social distancing, wear your masks in public places, wash your hands more than you may be used to doing, maybe not, but try and stay safe and stay healthy and be COVID aware. So goodbye for now.